Hi there everyone, thanks for joining this second webinar of our three-part series on discovering how to future-proof your company's marketing and profitability through digital adoption for the insurance industry. My name is David Cooper, I'm the Marketing Manager at Fountain and I'll be your host today. This is the second in the series and this one will be focusing on how to increase revenue with digital channels. This is the ability to improve your site and digital platforms' ability to generate leads and sales. Our first speaker is Rachel Murray, who's Head of Partnerships at Fountain, who are a global award-winning digital marketing agency. Rachel has a background in sales and digital marketing for both B2B and B2C. Is passionate about driving bottom line and leads and sales, partnership expert and extraordinaire at Fountain. She will be speaking to you about how to increase the number of sales from your existing traffic and target audience. How to acquire traffic being covered in the previous webinar. Then our second speaker is Harry Ford, Head of Strategy at Cayenne, an acclaimed digital development agency. Harry has strong and varied experience as digital product designer within the insurance sector, driving product strategy at Cayenne. You may recognize him from the previous webinar. And he will be speaking to you about keeping up with digital customers. So defining a digital customer experience and the strategy to go with it, then tactics used to optimize this process. There's a lot to cover today. So if you have any questions, please enter them into the chat box to the right of the video stream, ideally with the name of the person you're directing the question to. And at the end, I'll then field these questions to our speakers. So I hope you enjoy what they've got to say and have some good takeaways that are useful to you. I'll now hand over to Rachel from Fountain.
Thank you, David. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second session of our Dawn of Digital series. As David mentioned, I'm Head of Partnerships at Fountain. From part one of the series, you gained insights on the latest tactics to reach your target audience online, as well as the messaging you should be using to capture their attention. Now, today, I'm going to be sharing with you the fastest and most effective methodologies for turning your new site visitors into paying customers. So let's kick off by considering the current landscape. Whether at a time of crisis or stability, insurance is fundamentally about protection. Now, with that in mind, it should come as little surprise that insurers have seen an enormous increase in customer contacts during this pandemic. But manpower is stretched, employees are working from home, and the in-person channel is limited. Now, as a result, insurers have catapulted themselves into digital transformation. Companies have launched digital forms, virtual inspections, video conferencing, and of course, started to focus more on their online presence and digital marketing efforts. But this landscape isn't without its difficulties, and a seamless customer experience is more important than ever. Consumers are now expecting a tailored, efficient, and transparent digital process. Now, to offer a seamless digital experience, you need to be able to respond to the data gleaned from customers' interactions rapidly, identifying the breaks in the customer journey and addressing them fast before they become a major problem. There's also no point ploughing your available budget into digital advertising if you're offering a poor customer experience when users land on your website. Now, one way to tackle this is through conversion rate optimization. This is a no media spend strategy that's guaranteed to increase revenue over time if implemented correctly. A recent study by McKinsey summarized the value of insurers investing in Pro and UX perfectly. They explained that a higher online conversion rate translates into real money. They found that an auto insurer with 10 billion in annual premium income can generate 400 million in additional premiums just by boosting their online conversion rate by 20%. Now, that kind of value at stake gives insurers a powerful incentive to close the digital capabilities gap that separates them from the top performers. Now, some of the audiences today are already implementing conversion rate optimization. Now, I know this because I've had a look at your website tags. But I imagine a few of you are locked into legacy tech and would like to see some options. So here is a quick outline of our approach. Firstly, we review the current user behavior on site in Google Analytics, as well as implementing user recording software on the site if it isn't there already. Hotjar is our tool of choice, but there are also some other really good tools out there, such as Session Cam or UX Cam, which originally used to be Appsy, if those of you don't know what that is. We use Hotjar's recording data, heat maps and surveys to see where the users are going, what they're having trouble with, if they're missing key bits of information, and most importantly, why they're not converting. Using this data, we then create a bespoke testing roadmap, which highlights test ideas that aim to improve user experience and increase goal completions. And finally, we A/B split test these ideas using software such as Visual Website Optimizer or Google Optimize to increase conversion rate on an ongoing basis. Now, just to give you an example of what this process can achieve, so following this simple process, we generated a 73% uplift in on-site conversion rate and a 45% reduction in cost per lead for a leading UK health insurance broker. And you can do the same for yourselves. Now, one of the issues you might identify when analysing your data in this way is the necessity to gather all new customer information via very extensive website forms is causing users to drop out of the funnel. Now, there's a balance to be struck between hitting the conversion rate target you need and gathering enough customer information. It doesn't actually need to be a drastic overhaul, though. Conversion rate boost could come from something as simple as taking the phone number requirement from the first page of the form. The less the user has to fill in and the less commitment they feel during the initial form stage, the better. Now, if you do need to keep that extensive form for whatever reason, the key is to make it as fast and easy to use as possible. Let the user know how long it's going to take, keep the technical jargon to a minimum, limit the questions on each page, and actually, most importantly, tell the user how many steps in the process are left. Now, when analysing our insurance clients' websites, it's not just the length of the form that poses an issue, but how intuitive they are. Firstly, ensure the date input and postcode lookup functionalities are as intuitive as possible, especially on mobile. We often see frustrated clicks on Hotjar, people sort of dashing around the page madly, not quite knowing whether or not this button's working, and then also refreshing the page on mobiles, especially when they're trying to navigate these features. Also, speaking of mobile, large form buttons on forms and finger click friendly navigation are also particularly useful on mobile, and they help users to sort of navigate through your forms with ease. I'd also recommend ensuring that these nav buttons are in a contrasting colour from the rest of the site just to make sure they stand out. Many insurers also need to improve their site speed. Now, I imagine if this were the live audience, I'd hear some groans in the audience. Oh no, not site speed. So those of you who are held back by legacy tech often provide a slower experience for the user, which is going to inevitably lead them to dropping out of the funnel. As I'm sure a lot of you know, 47% of consumers expect a web page to load in 2 seconds or less, and 40% of users will wait no more than 3 seconds before abandoning the site. And this is often an issue on mobile, especially for insurers. The relentless growth of mobile use means out-of-date websites have become liabilities. Google has prioritised mobile-first results delivery, meaning that those on page 1 of Google will be the cream of the mobile optimised crop, as it were. A seamless mobile experience is very important for Google Ads campaign optimisation, especially, as Google uses metrics about users' on-page behaviour to judge the quality of the content provided. A poor user experience translates to poor quality score, meaning ads are rarely going to be shown in the search results. And at the end of the day, this limits the potential returns from what is by far the most profitable channel for growth for insurance businesses, using paid search to get your product in front of users who are already in a transaction mindset. Now, another point where users often drop off are at the stages around compliance and regulations. Now, compliance alone isn't enough to sustain and grow a business. And if compliance tops everything else, you run the risk of losing your customers in a web of complex, albeit compliant, processes. Now, we regularly see the user's journey being interrupted with a complex list of rules, caveats, and exclusions. It's a jargon they don't understand, it's long, it's confusing, and so the user leaves. Compliance should be embedded into the user journey in clear and plain language, and asterisks where relevant with sort of clear info links so they can find out more. These info links also help evoke trust in your brand because you're addressing users' questions and concerns early on in the process. I'd also recommend A/B split testing this messaging as often as possible. You'll be able to then see which wording evokes a positive reaction and leads to a higher conversion rate. Now, compliance doesn't need to be the enemy. Compliance tools can actually influence your approach to improving customer experience. So, for example, like complaints management systems capture every customer interaction, and that sort of results in information all being in a centralized place. Now, not only does this provide the level of transparency required for robust compliance, but it actually furnishes business with one single unified view of the customer. And all of this data can be used to influence the aspects of your online presence. If you get compliance being integrated into your user journey right, then your website will provide useful, relevant information to customers. And Google will love you. Search engines place a huge emphasis on high quality pages, like I mentioned earlier. So, for example, Google uses page quality ratings to evaluate how well a web page achieves its purpose. So, much like insurance industry regulations, websites should be designed to benefit your users and not mislead them. For those of you that don't know, insurers fall under the Your Money or Your Life page categories for Google. Google defines insurance websites as those which could impact the future happiness, health, financial stability, or safety of users. And therefore, Google has a very high standard when assessing the quality of these sites. Now, if the funnel dropout percentage is still higher than you'd like, or your business model doesn't allow you to change your current process, I'd recommend using remarketing to mop up any users who have dropped out of the funnel and encourage them to return to complete the process. Now, with free impressions and clicks as low as 10 pence, remarketing is a really cost-effective channel for maximising conversions and keeping your brand front of mind in a positive way. Now, remarketing works by creating a list of visitors who have been to a certain page on the website. It's often used to show people ads about the products or services they're reviewing and encouraging them to return to complete an action. Most of the time, in this case, it would be the form. It also provides an excellent opportunity to increase the lifetime value of existing customers by moving them from one product funnel to another. Remarketing is also a great way of introducing non-converting site visitors and existing customers to other products that may become relevant to them in the future. This is particularly important for the insurance industry and is very effective if you have a wealth of high-quality content that addresses the potential concerns of your users. To maximise customer lifetime value, consider at which point each of your products becomes relevant to your target audience and build out a content and remarketing strategy accordingly, like the simple example shown on your screens. Advertisers can specify whether remarketing lists should be collected from product pages, informational content such as blog posts, or both. It doesn't matter, providing it's all highly relevant to the ads that the user is being shown and constantly offers value. So, to summarise, prioritise conversion rate optimisation in UX, especially on mobile. Find a balance between hitting the on-site conversion rate target you need and gathering enough user information. Integrate compliance into your user journey. Use simple jargon and split test messaging to see which wording leads to an increased conversion rate. And finally, use remarketing to capture users who have dropped out of your conversion funnel and stay front of mind with content that offers value. Now, I hope that all listeners got something of value from the points that I've addressed today, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end of the presentations, and you can contact me later via the details in this slide. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Rachel. That was really insightful. So next up, we've now got Harry. So Harry, I will pass on over to you.
Thank you, David. So today I'm going to be speaking about how to keep up with the digital first customer. Same as yesterday, my name's Harry Ford. I'm the head of product strategy at Cyan, and Cyan is a team of obviously 40 experts and strategists, and designers and engineers. So my job, particularly as a strategist around this talk, involves really helping clients move forward into their digital first strategies. I'm working a lot around their digital customers and focusing on their experiences. The impact of COVID-19 on customer behavior has been obviously quite sweeping across a lot of industries. Spending across a lot of industries is now down. Purchases have shifted from being from in-person to more digital channels. And public safety has become more of a top priority really for companies and consumers. As companies prepare for what we call the sort of long haul, we refer to it as more as the sort of next normal. The path forward is anything really but clear at the moment. Among the most vexing challenges is determining which customers' behaviors and trends that are happening now are going to stay and which ones will eventually kind of disappear. Companies that invest in the wrong capabilities could find themselves on the outside, really, as competitors that offer amazing customer experiences cement the advantage that they've now made. In order to succeed, I think, in the next phase of the next normal, really, companies need to identify the current behaviors that will help define the digital customer experience, really in the near term. We must make sure that these opportunities are really aligned with our business strategies and our internal capabilities, really. Today, I'm going to walk you through how we can kind of help better understand and keep up with the digital first customers, really through these sort of 5 simple steps here. So number 1 is defining your digital strategy. We're going to look at sort of what is an agile technology environment, future-proofing our technology environments, things that have the way we work in terms of impact for your effort, becoming more design mature as a team. And then we're going to briefly look at sort of multi-access experiences for customers and how that is now the new standard. So digital first insurance companies almost never really existed pre-COVID era. Yes, companies have undergone their own digital transformations. However, digital was always this kind of secondary option or a backup for companies. It was never their real main focus. There are a few around, and we see startups and that appearing, but never really the main focus of insurance. The revenue occurred from like a digital experience was always welcome, but the primary revenue came from the traditional and in-person business model involving, the insurance agent and the consumer. COVID-19 has kind of adversely affected this more traditional model. Now that the secondary or the backup plan, I guess, which was digital, has to play a much more primary role in driving revenue for insurance companies due to unexpected arrival of a pandemic as such. Insurance firms were kind of least prepared, I think, to combat the situation, as the pandemic really is we've got good news. We're able to come out of this hopefully soon, but the way we work and the things that have changed are here to stay for quite some time. Companies are finding themselves having to undergo a real digital first approach to their thinking and to hopefully sustain their businesses. So how do we build a digital first experience or digital first insurance company? And what are those sort of key transformation drivers in the post-COVID world? Simply put, digital first or digital transformation is about changing the way a business interacts with its customers and how they provide their customers with a consistent experience wherever and whenever they need it. The companies that do transform digitally are creating better or more highly engaged customers. These customers are around 6 times more likely to try a new product or a service from a brand which they prefer. 4 times more likely to have actually referred your brand to their friends or family. And they're 2 times more likely to make a purchase with their preferred brands, even when a competitor probably or maybe has a better product or price. So looking at sort of understanding our digital first customer more, customers are relying more and more on digital channels to buy and connect and communicate. In order for companies to be successful, we should be framing our future strategies around digital. We have to be intentional about delivering value. Start with what is our customer's digital experience. Digital technology has kind of transformed our consumers' habits, mobile devices, apps, AI, automation, all allows customers now to get what they want almost exactly whenever they need it. What's more, these new digital technologies have caused a shift in customer expectations. So this kind of results in a new modern buyer, really. Today's consumers are always constantly connected. They're app native and aware what they can do with their technology. So because of the opportunities that arise from this technology, customers often rate organizations on their digital customer experience first. customers expect relevant content in relation to what they're doing at any time or anywhere in the format, obviously, of the device of their choosing. So it's that journey really that dictates your strategy. To accommodate the new modern day buyer, your business needs to think digitally first too as well. So with so many kind of new ideas being introduced into the marketplace, and companies need to set out a long-term strategy, I think, as a company, I need to adapt and compete, and the main target is to survive in a sort of digital landscape. Like all good strategies and processes, a digital transformation kind of strategy can be split into fundamentals, I think, and be achieved and iterated upon or within a series of workshops. I'll run through an example of the kind of thing that we've done in the past, and you can sort of see in these 4 steps. Number 1 is determining your goals. So we consider long-term goals and your short-term objectives and the resources that you have available to you. We focus on what we could have, our competitor advantage, and that means that you want to try and enhance that if you can. We think of new digital KPIs that would kind of maybe help us assess and measure the results that we need. Moving over to market and competition. So here we consider digital technology, so platforms, vendors, solutions that are in our space now. We analyze existing competition and any emerging solutions and disruptive technologies as well within our field. One thing we don't tend to do, but we should, is sort of go beyond. So go beyond the space and your industry, and spend some time to really explore. Maybe success stories is a good one to focus on in other fields as well. We look at where we are today. So assess how well the digital tools and the technologies that we use today, do they address our current needs and our future needs? Consider things like integrations into our systems and partnerships. And as Rachel was speaking about before, it's really analyzing your current data and the potential of that. Maybe these will help define maybe your future digital KPIs. And lastly, it's focusing on your customer. So the goals you define at the first stages of this will help shape your digital first approach and roadmap. However, your customers' goals are really no less important. Researching existing customers and maybe new customers, new audience groups. We study customer experiences and we collect any necessary data and feedback from them. And then we explore digital channels that our customers want to use and connect with us as an audience. Having the right technology behind all of this to power up digital strategies is really fundamental in today's business world. Technology selection and architecture are really key to digital strategy, as they are the medium through which the strategy is going to be delivered to the customer. The industry is moving at this tremendous pace, so it's important to pick technologies and architectures that not only allow you to deliver quickly, but arguably more importantly, also allow you to accommodate change that you need. You want architectures where you're able to centralize your content and business processes so that the content really can be reused across multiple platforms that consumers will expect to meet you on today, like the web and mobile apps, but also new platforms as those opportunities kind of emerge, i.e. like TikTok and the rise of TikTok. For example, centralizing your content in like a headless CMS allows you to maintain your content once and open it up for reuse as a single source of truth that can be used across multiple platforms. Like the same content driving your website and your mobile app and email marketing automation. We want to discover, and this is more around discovering biggest impact for your effort, the way we work. Today, the vast majority of insurance executives and employees have an appreciation for the breadth and value of the opportunities and the benefits of a digital first kind of approach and what this offers. But a transformation project that attempts to act as a remedy for issues faced in all areas of the business, I've found in the past it's kind of can backfire, with massive budgets and business benefits that you think of end up getting lost in the complexities of a big project like this. By identifying processes or areas of your digital architecture where you can get the biggest bang for your buck, your biggest impact for your effort, you will gain buy-in, and you're going to gain what's really important is the momentum that you need. When starting, I always say it's think big, but start small. And you can learn quicker like this, and it's more agile. And you continue this journey only when checkpoints have really been met, and the value is gained from each of these. And the project, once you've achieved all of these, you can start moving forward much faster. The next normal, I think, is anything but static. The customer experience landscape is always evolving. So companies can't just build something and sell it and forget about it, and then still expect for them to stand out. Instead, businesses need to constantly monitor business trends, what's growing, what's maybe stagnating in your business or declining. You need to do this against your current business strategies to identify new opportunities that arise. You need to learn where to pivot ideas, or even where to stick maybe and invest a little more money or time in. Organizations need to learn that this pivoting and the testing of products needn't be this long-winded and expensive thing. The most successful digital companies that we see in the world are constantly running, daily, weekly, monthly digital experiments, equipping themselves with digital growth teams now. And so that's actually something I'm going to be speaking about tomorrow, and how we can kind of pull growth more in and build teams within ourselves, and growth teams. We want to drive product teams. This is a big thing which doesn't get spoken about enough, I don't think, but we want our product teams to become more design mature. Something really important for me is to upskill staff in design, but also customer empathization. So this is often overlooked, in my opinion. This is something that will be part of a longer term game plan, the same as the constant iteration of your products. It is something that needs to change and improve. And to make sure we're kind of responding quickly to these constantly changing environments, companies need to have a broad base of employees that know how to empathize with our customer. As a designer myself, working with multiple different skill sets on a daily basis at Kyan, I want to see our teams delivering better design products and services. And the way we do this is by embedding some UX expertise, that's a mouthful, or team members or leads into the teams, allowing the wider team to kind of pick up on the basics over time. This could be a project manager or a developer, but over time they will start to become more design mature and customer centric. With this sort of increased maturity of a product team, organizations are going to start delivering better design products and services over time. Lastly, I'm going to speak around multi-access experiences. So multi-access experiences across all touch points is now the standard that all companies must strive really to meet. Every insurer addressing private customers will need to adopt a multi-access approach. How to achieve this transformation and which kind of aspects to focus on will depend on the state of obviously your current models, your current distribution models. Traditionally, insurance companies have agents and a broker designated as your primary interaction channel with their customers. This 100% approach has kind of all started to disappear. Customers now need and demand really multiple access points for engaging with their insurer along their customer journey. Multi-access customers are the fastest growing insurance segment in recent years. As you can see on this graphic here in 2019, every second customer was a multi-access customer. At the same time, the share of purely offline customers is expected to drop from 6 out of 10 in 2012 to just over 2 out of 10 in 2024. So by choosing the right multi-access approach, companies need to be in a good place to serve its ever-evolving customer needs. And just to finish up really, but in today's fast-moving, always connected and always on really society, companies are now forced to seriously consider implementing a digital first strategy if they haven't already. This digital first approach offers organizations an opportunity to engage these modern buyers that we're speaking about and deliver on the expectations of what is a seamless customer experience, regardless of a channel or a place. Change isn't optional anymore in order to survive. It is imperative. To come out on top against disruptive competition and ever-changing customer demands, traditional insurance companies will need to think like startups. This means evolving quickly and leveraging these new technologies and data analytics to create these new personalized customer experiences. Insurance companies have been competing for years in the same way. If you can really push this battle now, I think, into the digital sphere, help people find and buy insurance in an easier way, you're going to be already taking this huge leap forwards. Like, I have car insurance with one of the big insurance providers. I also have car breakdown cover bought with them. The cover is through the RAC, but I have no idea of my breakdown cover number. I actually had to phone the RAC individually to find this. I have perks through buying this insurance with I have no idea how to actually access them. So these are sort of simple customer journey fixes that can help start to better help our digital customers' journeys overall. And that's all from me. Thank you for listening.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Harry. That was really insightful. Yeah, really great and really interesting as well. So we'll now just move on to some questions. We have some pre-submitted ones, but do please enter them into the chat box if you have any. Harry, we'll start with a question for you. What are good ways to look at digital competition out there in the world, and maybe competition that is not, at least obviously, within the insurance space?
Yeah, that's a good question. This is something we do with projects in general, and even when we're thinking around design internally at Cayenne, we will constantly be looking at what's been done. So, designers will be looking at what other designers have done, or what other fields, what's different across the world. There's good exercises, kind of like people can look up, like lightning demos is a really good way to, as a team, to formulate, from leadership to development to marketing, whoever, to bring in competition from around, and they can each bring sort of ideas that they like, probably based around any business need or what you're going to be talking about. But you can bring them up and actually draw them up on the wall and show the team what you like and what you don't like. And that's a really good way to start this inspiration piece, to kicking off innovation and looking, and definitely looking outside of your field. Like, my experience from insurance to law to charity to so many different things really does help. The banking has been renovated massively by looking outside of banking. Monzo came in and they've got a much different view of what banking should have been, but they've only learned that from looking outside their own fields. It's you can really start evolving your own experiences by looking outside of your own space. Yeah.
And also looking at that in those insurance customers in Germany, that chart you had with the three pillars, there was a swing from purely offline to purely online. Is this that it's balancing out between sort of all, offline and a mix, or do you actually expect offline to just disappear completely and online to actually become, in the distant future, a much larger part of that?
I don't think so. I think the offline services that we have, so I've just finished a project where we were looking at a purely offline business, and this wasn't in insurance. This was actually just a purely sales-based, offline. They need tools and things like this, and they were 100% offline. And what they've actually done is they're offline. The brokers or the salespeople have had to now adopt certain methodologies, even just WhatsApp and things like this, to be able to communicate with their customers and bring them, the information they need fast. So I think a lot of it can be offline. A phone is what a lot of these people need, or you want to hear a human voice. You still trust this human part of it. We still want that. And I think it'll always be around. Bupa is another company that I worked for. It's they have a huge department on telephones. They most of their services come through that, but their digital uptake is gaining, and it is a big thing that's going to be going. But they maybe coincide it with both. So if you can work out a really good in between, if you need at any point to speak to someone because you're confused, give them that option. And that's kind of that development of both together, I think.
Sure. Cool. No, that sounds good. And Rachel, you talked about conversion rate optimization. How can this be used in conjunction with paid ads talked about in the previous session?
Well, they work in tandem together to achieve goals. That's what I always say to sort of any new businesses that we start working with. They say, oh, I'd just like to do paid. And I think, no, you should do both always, because if you're sending lots and lots of paid traffic to a website, you want to make sure that the conversion rate of that website is as good as it can be. I think I said that in the first, slide of my presentation, because that's how important it is. So as paid traffic, starts increasing, then you want the conversion rate to increase with that, okay? And as the conversion rate is increasing, your cost per leads from paid are going to go down over time, okay? So you just want to make sure that ongoing conversion rate optimization is working in tandem with it. Also, if you're improving the conversion rate on site, then Google is going to think that your quality score is much higher, because your conversion rate and your user experience is just going to be so much better. And therefore your cost per clicks even are going to be much cheaper. So overall, you're going to have a really good user experience on site, and you're going to get much, not only better quality leads, but cheaper leads as well.
Brilliant. And that actually kind of feeds in nicely to the next question, which is, does focusing on CRO, conversion rate optimization, mean that search engine optimization, SEO, suffers, and how can they work together?
Does it mean if SEO suffers? Do you mean so the organic side of things?
Yes, the organic side.
No, organic wouldn't suffer at all. So, it's still the same applies. So if organic traffic, paid traffic, any traffic is coming to your website, you still want to make sure that that user experience is as good as possible. So with the organic side of things, again, your rankings will increase if the user experience and the relevancy of the site is as good as possible. And CRO can help you, and UX can help you achieve that. So Google bases your ranking factors on multiple elements, but site relevancy is one of them. And so if you're sort of making sure that your user experience is great, your structure's right, your content's good, then of course they're going to rank you higher in the organic rankings. Does that answer whoever's question that was?
I believe that does, yeah.
People I can see. So.
Fantastic. Well, those are the questions we have. So thank you to both of our speakers. Thank you very much, Harry and Rachel. And of course, to the audience, I hope everyone took away something valuable and some actual actions from that as well. And if you would like to talk to our speakers or ask them any questions that weren't answered, please feel free to get in contact with them on LinkedIn or reach Rachel at rachel.murray@fountainpartnership.co.uk or harry@kyan.com. I will see you tomorrow for the final part of this series, same time. Bye for now.